Good day everyone, I am Christine Mebisabion from BEd 3 and today I will be discussing about the approaches to curriculum improvement. Before we begin, let me first share the objectives of this lesson. So when it comes to designing a curriculum, there is no one size fits it all. Education is very dynamic, meaning it keeps on changing. Why? Because society changes, technology advances, and even our understanding of how students learn also improves. Because of these changes, the different approaches to curriculum development have been created. Each approach is based on different educational philosophies, and each one gives us a unique perspective on how education should achieve. Now, before we continue, let's clarify the meaning of an approach. So, an approach is simply a way of doing or thinking a way of something. So, if we talk about a curriculum approach, this refers to the way of creating, designing, or thinking about a curriculum. Curriculum practitioners like teachers, principals, and even policymakers may use one or more approaches when planning, implementing, and evaluating the curriculum. That is why it is very important to study them. So now let us discuss the 6 approaches to the curriculum improvement. The first approach is the behavioral approach. This one is one of the most traditional and structured approaches. It is based on the idea of the blueprint. Everything starts with specific goals and objectives. Then the curriculum content and the activities are arranged according to those objectives. At the end, the learning outcomes are evaluated to see the objectives have been achieved or nakuha sa mga students. So this approach is linked by Frederick Taylor. So that is from the idea of efficiency. So in this approach, success is measured by change. In the students shows improvement in behavior, that means the goal has been achieved. For example, a grade 4 teacher sets the objectives. Students will solve 10 multiplication problems with 90% accuracy because that is the goal. The drills, the lessons, and even the tests are all designed to make sure students will reach that outcome. So it really visible kayo nga ang behavioral approach is focused on measurable objectives. It is direct, specific, and it tells us what will the students will achieve. The second is the managerial approach. So in this approach, the school principal or administrator is seen as the curriculum leader. The principal acts like a general manager. She is responsible for setting the policies, identify the priorities, establishing directions for innovation, and planning for curriculum and instruction. Unlike the behavioral approach, this one is less focused on the subject content. Instead, it is more about management and organization. So for example, a school principal may organize a training workshop for teachers on new strategies. So after that, the principal ensures that all grade levels will consistently use those methods. So this approach shows us that curriculum improvement is not just about what is being taught, but also about how the school as an organization supports its leadership, planning, and management play a very big role. So the third approach is the systems approach. So this comes from the systems theory. So which says that organizations must be viewed as interconnected systems. In curriculum, this means that the school should be seen as a big system where all the parts are equally important. This include the administration, the teachers, the curriculum itself, the instruction, the counseling services, and even the evaluation. So in this approach, when one part changes, the other must adjust too. For example, if a school introduces computer classes, it doesn't mean nga mag-add lang og subject. The school must also train teachers, adjust the schedules, and even modify the assessments to make sure everything works smoothly. So the systems approach makes sure that curriculum improvement is not done on isolation, but always in connection with the other parts of the school school system. So the fourth approach is the academic approach. So this approach focuses on the importance of academic disciplines. It tries to analyze and synthesize major positions, trends, and concepts in curriculum, but most importantly, it focuses on deep understanding of the subjects like mathematics, science, literature, and even the subject history. So this approach is grounded on the historical and philosophical traditions in education. For example, a high school might update the science curriculum to include new lessons about genetics and climate change. So these topics are not just trends, but are also important knowledge that students should learn today. So the academic approach values intellectual development and mastery of knowledge. It ensures that the curriculum keeps up with the new research and the new discoveries. So the fifth approach is the humanistic approach. So this is based on progressive and child-centered philosophy. So it emphasizes that the learner is at the center of the curriculum. So this means that the focus is not only in academic or knowledge, but also the total development of the learning, including their emotions, their creativity, and personal growth. Unlike the behavioral approach, this focuses on the humanistic approach, like it gives more flexible and importance of the emotions and well-being of a whole individual. For example, aside from teaching regular lessons, a teacher might include activities like journaling, art, or group sharing sessions. So these activities are not only for academics but also to help students grow socially and emotionally. So the humanistic approach reminds us that education should not be of exams and grades, but also about preparing students to be well-rounded and balanced individuals. Finally, the sixth approach is the reconceptualist approach. This one is very different compared to the others. It does not follow a specific model of curriculum design. Instead, it is concerned with larger political and moral issues that influence education. So, the reconceptualist approach asks deeper questions like what is really the purpose of education and how does education connects with social problems, politics, and culture. So, for example, a curriculum may include lessons on environmental awareness, gender equality, or cultural heritage. So these lessons are not only about gaining knowledge, but also about encouraging students to think critically about society and to question unfair systems. So this approach is not only about transmitting knowledge, but also about transforming society through education. So in conclusion, the different approaches to curriculum improvement show us that there are many ways to think about and design education.